What we want to do is we want to move forward. We've heard from a number of you the following. I want to move my average sale price up. I want to work smarter instead of harder. Okay? I've had conversations with a number of you, and you're bringing this up. As this market turns, I want to make sure that I'm ready for the market. Well, we found a product that is going to let you control this marketplace a little bit more and also set the bar a little bit higher for other people in the industry to come in and market against you. You know, it's a product for everybody if you want to. Their sweet spot is between about $200,000 to $700,000. So it's just not real high end. It's not low end. It allows you to get your average sale price up. We know not all of you are going to endorse it. Okay? I'm a realist on that. All we can do is we can bring this to you and say, here's an opportunity. For those of you that don't endorse it, we want to make sure that you know that there will be some of us out there working actively to be able to do this, and you can join into it at any time you would like to and invest and be able to go out and do it. All we're doing is asking you to do this in a realistic manner and be able to do it at a comfort zone that you can handle. And once it starts paying dividends to you, turn around and reinvest. David Collins has come to us from San Diego, flew in last night along with Brianna. They're going to be here for the next 3 days. He's going to put in a presentation on this morning that's going to give you an overview. He's going to be in our offices for the next couple of days so that you can have one-on-one, so that you can really find out, does this fit in my business? Okay? Is this something that, as this market changes in the next 12 to 18 to 24 months, instead of you scrambling to get there as the distressed properties end, you're already there and you've set the bar for anybody else that's in there. And keep in mind, folks, a lot of our competitors have moved away from some of those sale prices. So without any further ado, David, we want you to come up, give us a little shot in the arm. Welcome.
Thank you very much. Thank you, sir.
You bet.
Appreciate it. Vicki, can I ask you a quick question? Certainly. On that first line of the MLS, I'm David, by the way. But my mind goes, Jeff accused me of being ADD last night. I thought that was pretty funny between the two of us. But on that first line of MLS, on the property description, can I put my name and phone number? Certainly. Ooh. All right. I just have to backtrack a little bit, and I'm going to touch on what Vicki does. Homeowners, there's two things that homeowners are looking for when they go to sell their home. And homeowners that are going to sell their home will go on to Realtor.com to see what the activity and the competition is like. The two things that they're looking for is an area expert and somebody who can negotiate. Every single one of my clients from this day forward, we will coach to put in there that they are the area expert, Brookfield area expert, has negotiated for more than 30 years, and their phone number. Because if that's the only thing that shows up, we want them to call you immediately. All right. As I said, we come in from San Diego. Very disappointed this morning. I got up about an hour and a half early, went to get on the freeway, figured it'd take me about an hour to get here, and there was no traffic. I got back on the freeway, drove a half an hour, and came back, and I felt right at home. But anyway, that's San Diego. My dad was in the advertising business. My mother's been a REMAX agent for 30 years. So I grew up in the REMAX system. He taught me one thing, which I then taught my son. He said, David, if you're going to do something, it really doesn't cost much more to do it right than to do it half-heartedly. And as you look at the package that you have now, are we not getting... we'll have to go manual here. Aha. For 20 years, I'm going to back up a little bit. This is a little bit about what we do. For 20 years, we've helped agents dominate market share. How many have been in the industry 10 years or more? Great. Remember the old days when we used to farm a particular neighborhood and our personal sphere? What happened there. Why did that stop? How did that change? It's really simple. It's called the internet. And the internet promised us a whole lot of something for nothing. It was very inexpensive. And I think our grandfathers told us all about something for nothing. Don't get me wrong, I truly believe in social media and the internet. It has a great place for us as agents. The greatest place it has for us is if you have listings, the social media and the internet, those buyers now have direct access to you. You have 3 minutes to actually respond to those leads. And I'll give you an example. My girlfriend's an agent. She works California. She has an $800,000 listing. Saturday morning, 9 o'clock, she gets a text that somebody's just inquired about her listing. She says, that's interesting. Goes and has a cup of coffee, comes back a half an hour later, and she gets a phone call from another agent who has another listing in the same neighborhood. Says, I want to show your house on Santa Florenzia. And they do. They write up an $800,000 all cash, no contingency offer on that house. The buyer was the lead that she got at 8:30. Completely missed it. $24,000 hesitation. All right. That's my son. He's the one, and as we have children, and he came to me, that's him 12 years ago. That's him today. Things change, and they do change quickly. He said to me, and it's probably the proudest moment I have, is he came to me and said, Dad, the one thing you taught me that I treasure and honor the most is if you do something, do it right. Now you all have, I'm going to interject here, you all have that package in your hand right now. What's some of your impressions? It's probably rhetorical, high-end, really nice, very professional, and really expensive, correct? Am I right? Very true. This is what? Something less than that, correct? Here's what I learned from my father and what I taught my son. The cost difference to create this and any one of the pieces you have in that package is less than 1 penny. The difference is in the attitude of the person and the professionalism of the person that put it together. As Jeff said, that's a very high-end material. We create those. The black pieces are for the REMAX collection. I am now responsible for REMAX collections internationally and in Canada and the United States. So we'll be at R4 presenting that side of the package. But I just wanted to touch on that. The majority of our success is $250,000 to $600,000, $750,000. 94% of our clients are in that price range. When they grow up, you get more kids. I missed them. I was at the beach this morning. Anyway, we're going to talk about, I'm going to play a video for you. And this story was told 6,000 to 7,000 times. It was a presentation in an auditorium. It was told by the gentleman who founded Temple University. And he told this story, or he generated in 1860, $6 to $7 million, which I can't imagine what that's worth today, telling this very story. And I'm going to play it. It's about 6.5 minutes. And what I want you to think about is, especially those of you that have been in the industry when we had MLS books, when we went after sellers. And I want you to think about acres of diamonds. I want you to think about your own backyard. And I want you to think about how this gentleman left his own backyard and went out around the country to find bigger diamonds, better, greener pastures, and how that really didn't happen. Charles, can you start that?
In closing, here are 12 points to remember.
Charles, the start.
1.
Charles, thank you. That's the end.
Back in the year 1843, a man was born who, during his lifetime, was to have a profound effect on literally millions of people. His name was Russell Herman Conwell. He became a lawyer, then a newspaper editor, and finally a clergyman in 1881. It was during this latter period that an incident occurred which was to change his life and the lives of countless others. One day a group of boys came to Dr. Conwell at his church and asked him if he would be willing to instruct them in college courses. They wanted a college education but lacked the money to attend. He told them he'd do all he could, and as the boys left, A thought, an idea began forming in Dr. Conwell's mind. He asked himself, why couldn't there be a fine college for poor but deserving young men? Here was a great idea, and he went to work on it at once. Almost single-handedly, Dr. Conwell raised between $6 and $8 million, with which he founded the now well-known Temple University of Philadelphia. It was how he raised this money that I want to tell you about. He raised the money by giving lectures all over the country, more than 6,000 of them, and in each he told a story called Acres of Diamonds. This was a true story which had affected him very deeply, just as it affected his audiences. It was the story of a farmer who had settled in Africa. This farmer had heard the exciting stories of other African settlers who had made millions by discovering diamond mines. Realizing the African continent was rich in diamonds, the farmer could hardly wait to sell his farm and search for diamonds himself. He spent the rest of his life wandering the vast African continent, searching for the gleaming gems which brought such high prices on the markets of the world, but without success. Finally, in a sudden fit of despondency, broke and desperate as I remember the story, he threw himself into a river and drowned. During this time, the man who had bought his farm one day found a large and unusual stone in the stream which cut through the property. It turned out to be a great diamond of enormous value, and then he discovered that his farm was covered with them. It was to become one of the world's richest diamond mines. Now, the first farmer had owned literally acres of diamonds, but had sold them for practically nothing in order to look for them elsewhere. If he had only taken the time and study to know what diamonds looked like in their rough state, and had first thoroughly explored the land he had owned, he would have had the millions he sought, right on the land he had been living upon. What so profoundly affected Dr. Conwell and subsequently thousands of others was the obvious fact that each of us is at this moment standing in the middle of his own acres of diamonds. If we will only have the wisdom and patience to intelligently and effectively explore the work in which we are now engaged, we will usually find that it contains the riches we seek, whether they be financial or intangible or both. Before we go running off to what we think are greener pastures, let's make sure that our own is not just as green, or perhaps even greener. While we're looking at other pastures, other people are looking at ours. There's nothing more pitiful to my mind than the person who wastes his life running from one thing to another, like the first farmer, forever looking for the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, and never staying with one thing long enough to find it. For no matter what your goal may be, the road to it can be found somewhere in the work in which you now find yourself. It wasn't until he was completely paralyzed, for example, and was forced to reach into the resources of his mind, that a Wisconsin farmer got the idea of producing exceptionally good meat products on his farm, and one of the country's largest meat packing companies was born. His farm contained acres of diamonds, too. He had just never seen them before. A paper salesman found a dirty drinking glass in his hotel room and gave his company the idea of manufacturing paper cups, an idea that solved his financial problems for life. An insurance man got the idea of going back to all the people in his files and really working with them, serving them the way they should be served. That year, he wrote an additional $700,000 of insurance, made the $1 million round table, and found he no longer had to approach cold prospects. That by working with the people he had already sold and on their referrals, he had acres of diamonds right in his filing cabinet. A man out west amassed a fortune with a single small gas station. In the beginning, when things were tough, he would ask himself each morning, what can I do to increase my service to my customers? He still asks that question of himself each morning when he gets up, and while he could have retired years ago a wealthy man, he continues to dominate the business in his area by thinking of new and better ways to be of service. Do you know what the so-called average man would have done in this last case? He would have been worried about how bad business was, because in the beginning my friend had a hard time just feeding his family. When one day a man would have driven in the station in a big shiny car, this average man, seeing the wealthy customer, would have said to himself, I ought to be in his business instead of mine. You see, the average man believes some businesses are better than others, instead of realizing the truth that there are no bad businesses. There are just those people who do not know enough to see the opportunities in the work they're in. Jobs don't have futures. People do. No matter what our work happens to be, it's our business. We're its manager. If we can see no future or opportunity in it, it isn't because it's not there, but only because we can't see it. One time another farmer poked a tiny pumpkin into an empty 1-gallon jug The pumpkin grew until it completely filled the jug and could grow no more. When it was ripe, the farmer broke the glass jug and had a pumpkin which had assumed the jug's exact shape. In life, each of us does a similar thing. We poke ourselves into jugs of our own deciding, and we can grow no larger. But let's be mature enough to realize that it is we who do the poking, not the job, nor the company, nor the territory, nor the economy, nor the times. We do it. We should dispense with limitations and realize there is virtually no limit to our growth and development on the land on which we now find ourselves. Above all, keep this thought in mind as often as you can, on and off the job. Somewhere within the work you are now doing, there lurks an opportunity which will bring you everything you could possibly want for yourself and your family. In closing,
very much reminds me of when we used to farm and then we went to the internet. And really, if we go back to this slide right here, this is just pretty simple. For every buyer, there's a seller. Most of you, and REMAX agents, this is more like 50%. How many of you just think, how many of your sellers bought another property here in town and didn't use you? Let's say 30% of them actually used you. 30% of 50 sellers is 15 buyers. If there's a total of 100, that means 65 of 100 possible transactions is out there. That's what the sellers represent. 65% of the market completely forgotten. I had dinner with Jeff last night, as you know, and an astonishing fact, which I've never seen anyplace else in the country. You get 3.6% from the sellers. That means 60% of all earnable commissions come from the selling side. That number goes way up if you take that into consideration. So the question is, how do we do this? How do we actually go after, in an economical way, in a financially affordable way for you, how do we actually capture the sellers? We're going to talk about Ready, Fire, Aim. We're going to talk about some newsletters, some property brochures, postcards, personal spheres, and then I'm going to finish with just a high-end overview of the actual program itself. Tools for mining your acres of diamonds. So if you all pull out that piece, it's Whispering Palms. It's just a black piece, and we're going to follow along. And I'm going to show you why some of you who have done mailers before and they didn't work, and then some of you, who's ever done a mailer and got a listing? Somebody, what'd you do? Tell me what you did. You just sold postcard. How many did you mail? Guess, 500? 100. And you got a listing from that. My only question would be why we didn't mail a lot more postcards. Because if you mail a postcard and you get a listing, that's what we're actually looking to do. The content in what you do and how you send out a mailer is critical as to how well it works. Okay? If consistency is king, if content is king, consistency is queen, and we all know she runs the show. So make this effective. Design and content is critical. Again, good design costs no more than bad design. It's just who's doing it, and we hire the best. These are some of the things that are important. Community title, as I already told you, the most important thing a home seller wants to know is that you know their community, that you're familiar with their community. When somebody comes to look at their house, you can sell it. They do not go on the internet, especially if you're getting this piece, they do not go on the internet to find an agent to sell their home. Community-specific photography. This is one thing I think Jeff met us in San Diego. We have a gentleman there. His piece is in there, by the way, if you want to just look at it as we're talking about him. It's called the Electra. This is a great piece. This is a downtown condo. Excuse me. There are 34 different high-rise buildings downtown, and all of the other agents are downtown experts. You see what we did here with Greg? We didn't make him the downtown expert. We made him the Electra expert. And then in the Pinnacle, we made him the Pinnacle expert. So this photo is representative of their specific community. Greg started with us 30 months ago. He had less than 2% market share. I think at the convention he announced he had 22.8% market share of the entire downtown San Diego market. $2 million in earned commissions from that piece. And he stood there and said that. All right? Community photo is important. This one is really, this is I think where most people miss the mark. Variable data, and that's this piece down here. It actually has, you look on the bottom, It says, prepared especially for Susan and Stephen. I would bet you all, we opened up that first Publishers Clearinghouse check that had our name on it, and as we were doing it, we're going, I know it's not real. I know it's not real, but I got to see. Why did they do that? Why did they go? They mail more than anybody else in the world. Why did they take the time, effort, and huge expense to put your name on it? Because the return is 7 times greater than if you do not put their name on it. Every single one of our pieces actually has the homeowner's name on it, and you'll see it in more than one place. So I just want you to sit back and think. Think about where you live, your neighborhood. You're at home. You just got the mail. You walk in, and another agent sent that into your community. What would you think? I think most of you would think, uh-oh, if that was your farm. Yeah, very, very true. I look at, and my father taught me this. He said, David, every time you pick up a piece of marketing materials, there's one thing you should do. How can I better it? So when I design something for you, I take that mindset that it can't be bettered. And I have 20 years, millions of these. We do over 1 million of these a year. Millions of experience and feedback from agents to constantly improve these pieces. That's the front cover. If you open it up, this is Chris Anderson from your REMAX office in Scottsdale. An absolute sweetheart. I have to tell you a story about her. So we're doing the same presentation in Scottsdale, and they have some higher end. And Howard wanted me to come out and talk to them. I said, Chris, I need a favor. And I don't know her. I said, I want you to drive me around Scottsdale for 4 days as a buyer, and I'm not going to buy anything. She says, I do it all the time. And she graciously accepted. But we found out some phenomenal information about her competition. The moral of the story here is, if you pick an area in which you want to grow your career, and you do it with us, you will be successful. But know that community. You need to see every listing. Take your sister, your brother, your neighbor, and go through those houses so that you know them. And you need to study the souls. So when Mr. Johnson says, oh, Tommy down the street, oh yeah, Miss Tommy, Mr. Smith. So you know who sold that. It's just really, really powerful. This just has her contact information. There's the Facebook, Twitter, and the social media. Again, the biggest advantage to the social media and the biggest asset to you is that buyers that they didn't used to have the opportunity to call you directly. Back in the MLS book days, that didn't happen. So this is a great, great tool for that. 3 minutes. You guys have this award. It's phenomenal. I mean, the J.D. Powers Award, everybody in the world knows what that means. Get it onto your materials. It just adds credibility. All right, and the agent bio, short and sweet. We don't want to know a lot about you. Truthfully, the homeowners, we'll talk about what they really care about in a minute. But make that short and sweet and get in the words area expert and negotiator. One of the things we talk about in the testimonial is we actually figured this out. We got this from the National Board of Realtors. Was the statistics that the negotiator on that side, a lot of your homeowners or your sellers, when you get a testimonial, say, just write something up and I'll sign it. Write in, successfully negotiated the purchase of. Again, that's what people are looking for. The REMAX collection, this is either, this piece here was done for Scottsdale. It can be a graph. You have some great graphs in Realtor.com. You had some great graphs from Jeff earlier that can go in here as well. And this changes. And then here again, you have on the bottom of this, if you look at that, that's your call to action. If you'd like your home professionally marketed and sent to more than 800 people, call me today. But you see their name is on it. Oh, I personalized it with their name right here. So that's another part of the variable data. All right, this is the inside right page. This is all they care about. Everything else I've talked to right now, forget it. They get it, it's nice, it has their community, it has the community name, it has their name on it, you got them. You open it up, that's what they care about. They want to know what the neighbors sold the house for. Bottom line. Now, once they get into the decision-making process, by the way, very few people come home and say, honey, let's sell the house, and they call a realtor that minute. It's a process. It takes time. If they're getting this piece from you every month, I sincerely doubt that they're not going to at least give you the shot at it or an interview. The MLS data. How many of you went to a sales seminar 10 years ago? You, right there. So let me ask you a question. Can I pick on you? Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Everybody was just like the rest of us. Yeah. No, I appreciate that. If you had done everything they told you to do 10 years ago, would you ever have to have gone to another seminar? Probably for the update and the information. Yes. But think about it. We go to seminars, and we have lots of speakers. We have lots of speakers that tell us to go home and do things. So we go home and do them. We're all excited. We go home and do them for a couple of months. Then we get busy. They actually work. We go home and do them. Then we get busy. We get a deal. We get 3 deals. We get into transactions. One starts to fall apart. What happens to our marketing over here? It stops. So don't our careers mostly look like this? Just like this. They go up and down. And you know when people get out of them? When they go below what our spouse's threshold is on our income. It's truthfully what happens. Everything I talked to you about today, when I started this company, we used to ask you for everything I put up here, all of this information, the calendar of events, your featured listing, the MLS data. You had to provide it to us all. Everything I'm telling you today, we do for you. Everything you see on that piece was done at my office. And it's done in one building. There's no, our facility, from start to finish, there's no, oh, it's at the mail house. We are the mail house. We are the printer. We are the designer. We do the photography, the layout, the design, and the mailing. It is literally sign and dine. So I'm showing you what some of the most successful agents in the country do, and you don't even have to do it. Because I know, from having grown up with an agent, when you get busy, you don't have time to do this. This is not your area of expertise. How do we know to make this look better than this? It's our expertise. We hire people that have gone to college to do this. We know what works. We know what margins work better. Is it a 5/8 or a half? These are all little things of detail that really, really help. This piece here, so now if you look at the white piece, I put this one in here just to show you how we tone down for different price points. So if you look at the white one, who has a white one? Can I borrow that just for a second? So you see this one right here? So it's exactly what we just went through, except for here you can see the graph. If you look inside, because this was not a REMAX collection, you can see how we've actually used the graph. And we can use the REMAX graphs. And I can show you how to spruce those up a little bit. Anyway, so this is just a version I wanted to show you so that if you have a different price point that you don't feel that that black piece is good for, you can do this one. By the way, we have 400 agents that work with us right now. Every single one is customized to that agent's brand and look. Okay? So none of this is templated. I have never met anyone who likes to be put in a template or a box, as I like to say. So this is just a toned down version. This is Carmel Mountain Ranch. Really nice area in San Diego. And that's just the fun of it. Very clean, easy. And this is their look. This is what they actually wanted. So we designed it for them. Okay? Property brochures, I'm going to scoot through here. On your higher end listings, you get into some of those. If Jeff said you want to get into the higher end or the higher price points, when you get into them, this combination is critical. And when you send out, we're talking about mailing a property brochure. You have this in your piece and prepared especially for really, really effective and a great strategy that no one else does is to actually mail the property brochure to the neighborhood rather than postcard. The newsletter that we just talked about says, I market your community well. The property brochure says, I market your home well. I'm a homeowner. I want to know what's in it for me. Really, really effective. We have never, ever lost with that combination, property brochure. And it doesn't have to be a 4-page. If you're in a lower-end community, just be a 2-page. But just have it done right. Have it done professionally. By the way, you can take everything we teach you here today, and if you have a vendor that'll do it for you, go for it. We think it's, just do it. It really, really will work. Property brochure. And this is really, really fun in your listing presentation. So you're up against an agent. They do a nice property brochure. So do you. Take the other agent's property brochure. Flip it around. There's no mailbox on it. No address box. You say, well, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, this doesn't really do a whole lot of good sitting here in the home. What we'd like to do is take your property brochure and mail it to the surrounding neighborhood so everybody knows how nice this house is. And when they refer buyers to it, we can actually show them the property brochure. You've just killed the competition as far as property brochures are concerned. All right, acres of diamonds. We've talked about this. Jeff's talked about personal sphere. There's been a lot of conversation about actually marketing your data. Brian Buffini talks about it. This is actually, if you look in there, you'll see Chris's personal brochure has her picture on the front of it. It has her picture on the front of it because it's going to a personal friend. So when people get it, they know, oh, this is Chris. I'm not throwing it away. Some of the things we did inside, this is probably the most effective part. You see right here this picture of her family? That's how her friends know her. So what we're trying to do and we're doing successfully, is creating an association between how they know her. I was a coach for my son's Little League team. Everybody knew me as Coach David. Nobody knew me as real estate marketing. So we're creating that association. Here's some online, again, some online things that she does as well. This is really clever. So in your personal sphere, if you have people that live in $300,000 houses, $150,000 houses, and $600,000 houses, and all you put on your personal sphere piece is $600,000 houses, the rest of your friends are going to think that's the only market you work. So one of the things we are going to do here today, if you don't want to, these listings represent or came from the entire REMAX collection in Scottsdale. And if you do not want other agents helping you to sell your listings and then being able to go back to your homeowner and saying, you know, I'm working with an agent in my office and we just sent out 400 flyers or brochures about your house. If you don't want, you just have to tell Jeff and you can opt out. That's a silly move, by the way. This right here, so this says that I market houses in all of the different price ranges. And then we actually went in and pulled these. Chris didn't do anything. She just filled out a form that said 100,000, 200,000, 300,000. Jeff, is that a note or bell for me? No? I get long-winded, to say the least. Personal sphere, again, here's your call to action. Again, with the homeowners or your friend's name on it. This is a featured listing. If you don't have one or you want to borrow one from your coworkers, do it. Get one with a good picture. Pictures are critical. Does this really work? Let's take a look. I'm going to start at the bottom. This is Joan Siegel. I walked into Coldwell Banker in Boca Raton, Florida, 18 years ago. She's 6 months in the business, she was. And she did not live, and this is community. This is her newsletter over here, the Stonebridge. She did not live in that community. She lived in St. Andrews, another community. She says, David, do you think we can market over there? I said, sure. How many homes? 393. 393 homes, never left the golf cart, average price point just under $400,000. She's done $100 million in sales and transactions out of that community alone, not to mention the referral business that she got. And guess what? She did this right through all of this garbage that we've been through. The highs, the lows, she just kept on chugging. Now, when the market dropped, she's still chugging. She's lower because the market dropped, but she's way ahead of her competition. See, when the market dropped, she went to 78% market share because the rest of the agent community said, I'm not marketing. The market's dropped. I'm not spending any more money. And they didn't. And she killed them. This is, I like this one. This is good. John Lefferdink is a really, really super nice guy. He owns Prudential franchises in 2 of the cities where we live in. He hired Angela Meekins as a assistant with him. Now, Angela was in the business 2 years. John says, I want to do Meadows Del Mar. I said, John, you're crazy. There's an agent in there. She dominates it. He says, David, I want to do Meadows Del Mar. So I'll give you this disclaimer now. We will always give you our highest and best suggestion first, and then the client's always right, and that would be you. So we did it in Meadows Del Mar. John did, in just estimate about 1 year, $18.1 million in sales out of there, and more than half of it was referral business. That wasn't actually sales. So he was actually honest enough with us to tell us the additional business he got. Most agents won't tell us they're afraid we'll raise the price, which we don't do, by the way. If our prices go up, it's postage, and you know how much that goes up. And then we've already talked about Greg Newman. We actually researched that number. It was actually less than 2%. It says 4, and the actual data right now is 22.8. I like to be accurate. He has, in 3 years, he went from 2% market share to 22.8% market share of an entire city. Right? And his competition is still saying, I'm everything to everybody. And I think our grandfathers told us about that as well. In summary, what we're talked about is actually picking a particular area and saying, I'm going to be the expert in that area. And we're going to help you do that. We're going to show you how that works. We're also going to show you how to research those areas and how to pick a good one. Brianna, can you stand up for a minute? This is lovely. I call her Vanna, but that's Brianna. She is our national sales manager. Her and I will be here. She has gone to the diligent effort all last week to pull every single sale in your 4-county area and then group them by area. And then she also has your sales statistics as well. So we can actually show you what's good or close to you if you want to stay close to your home. Okay? The Premier Marketing Program, I'm going to cruise through this really quickly. If you're going after that higher end market, we've created some additional pieces that you'll want to incorporate. We're going to back up. MLS, really, really simple. Who's a betting man? Who plays poker? Any poker players? Ah, Okay, I have.
I don't sell though. I don't sell.
Oh, you don't sell. You sell. I'll bet you $20 you've never gone into MLS to search for a listing. He knows it's a trick question. $20. Anybody? None of you have ever gone in to search for a listing. You haven't. Here's the scenario. I called you. I'm moving here from Indiana, and I want to buy a $300,000 house. I will be in town Saturday and Sunday. I'd like to see 4 or 5 houses each day. Sound familiar? You go to MLS. Ready? MLS. 300,000, I'll go 275, 3 1/4. 75 listings. No, no, no. Great picture. Let's look at that one. No, no. It's a process of elimination. It's not a process of search. And the first thing they eliminate your property for is the picture. Because they don't want to show up, you don't want to show up to a property that's inferior, especially since you've never met me. That picture is critical. The next thing they're going to look at is the text. And here's the sad part. The last thing they're going to look at, they've got 10 properties to show me. They've narrowed it down to 15 because of good photography and good text. They're going to look at the agent. So this is my goal for my life in this position here, and that is to change the industry's attitude in how we treat each other. If you are difficult with other agents and you are one of those 15, am I going to eliminate you? Absolutely. We have the greatest industry in the world. We provide the American dream. We have respect for each other. If we have compassion and empathy, and remember that we're not all the most experienced agents in the world, you are. But those other agents that started, remember when you started. Next time you get a rookie agent who completely blows the contract, completely blows all the forms, perhaps a nice thing to do would be say, can I help you with that? I know you're busy, but you just made a friend for life. And the next time they're looking for a home in your area, they'll call you. All right, this is just a listing book. I'm going to show it to you. It's really fancy, really fun. This gets delivered. In the old days, most of you will remember this, in the old days when we used to take a listing, we would go preview the home before the listing appointment. Does anybody still do that? Some do. All right, if you're going to get into that higher end stuff, I encourage you to go preview the home. So I'm going to see you Thursday at 7, Mr. Smith. I'd like to come by on Tuesday, take a look at your home so I can familiarize myself with some of the special features that you've upgraded your home with. And you leave this with them on the kitchen counter. They open it up. Nice little box. And inside is all about you and the community and your company. It's REMAX. It's just a beautiful presentation. This is on the REMAX Main Street website, by the way, on the collection division. It's really impressive. And you can imagine if you're going up against, if you're just shooting for a $750,000 and up listing, your competition, we know, is not doing that. Also, if I go in before you, I am not leaving without the listing. So this is good ammunition. Some of you dealt with agents like that. They call you and say, I got the listing, don't bother coming by. This is great ammunition. If I'm a homeowner and I have this, I go, I want to see what this guy has to offer. I mean, he's obviously into marketing. The other thing we like to put in here is some of your professional brochures. And if you're the agent who has the newsletter with us, that goes in there as well. Here's a little kicker. If we work with you in a particular community for no amount of money, will we work with another agent from this company or any other? I don't know any marketing company in the country, in the world, that will make you that offer. So if you have a community, it's yours for as long as you shall do it. Okay? I was offered when Greg Newman, I first went to see Greg Newman, I had one kid. He was 24 years old, marketing the nicest building in downtown, a place called the Grand at the time. And then Greg said, I will not take the newsletter if you don't give me the Grand. I said, Greg, that's a 24-year-old kid who bet on himself. I'm not throwing him under the bus. It was a $140,000 decision. And I said, no. And I cried on the way home. And then I called Greg back and said, Greg, I had to give him something. So I called him back and I said, you can have the first right of refusal. So if he drops it, which we pretty much figured he would, he's 24 years old, and you need a little bit more respect or age, credibility for that particular size building. So anyway, Greg took it, accepted it. As we thought, the young kid went on to do other things, and Greg now has the Grand as well. The collection magazine. Does anybody have a listing over $750,000? No, okay. Collection magazine, we are actually putting this together for REMAX. It will be released at R4. Okay? And then thank you cards in the higher end, really handwritten thank you cards are just an anomaly. It just doesn't happen anymore. It just sets you apart. It's a little bit different. We think they're really professional. This is the REMAX collection professional look. Ready, aim, fire. Sales stats. Google Earth. So let me show you what we did and what we'll do. So for the next 3 days, we'll be here. And we will show you where the Acres of Diamonds is. We'll go over with each one of you how much opportunity there is in an area you're thinking about. If we don't have it, we'll get it for you. Google Earth. Okay. I had all of your names in here, but I chose to remove them. Look familiar? That's where you all live. Every one of you. And I hope this person is not here. That's Kim. I'm going to close it before we all get it. Is Kim here? Hey, oh yeah, I just want to close it before they got your address. But anyway, that's where you all live, okay? Let's take a look at something. So if we go over here and we're looking at listings, 150,000 to 300,000 in the last year. Those are the listings right there. That's the Acre of Diamonds. That's where you live. And those are the solds, a tremendous amount of business. And it's not found on the internet. This is farming at its best. That's your opportunity. You're looking at 70% of the market. How many of you would enter any market, any business, and say, I'm going after the 30% over here that everybody else is going after? Or am I going to go after the 70% that's been forgotten? I know where I'm going. Well, you can see where I'm going.
By the way, folks, that's Waukesha County that he's showing you right now.
Yeah, and I promised Jeff I would not try and pronounce any of those names. He said, David, don't do it though. I get it. You know, out of respect, I did not. I'm going to close this one, and I'm going to close this one and show you. Jeff, how do I pronounce this one?
This is Ozaki.
Ozaki. Boom. There's Ozaki right there. And then we'll go down here. You can actually zoom into this. Here's another really fun thing for you. So there's Ozaki, and then let's look at Milwaukee, 150 to 300. Okay, lots of listings. They're out there. How do we get them? We already know that, how we get them. And last, this is 300,000 and up, which a lot of you have expressed an interest in going after. And there's a tremendous amount of business out there.
And that's only Waukesha.
That's just Waukesha. We just did those four. It's an amazing. Our clients, they're laughing. They're creating LinkedIn so that you're all over there. Or was it LinkedIn? You're all over there, spending your time and energy, all chasing the same buyers. And they're at the beach in Hawaii with 20 listings. They don't have to deal with them. My goal for you is never put another person in your car that you personally don't know or didn't sell their house. Plain and simple. Those are really, really good. So, want to see something really fun? And this is going to be for anybody who signs up with us. One of the things we'll be able to do. Here, I'll just show you this right here. All right, if your name comes up here and you don't want it, I'm just going to do it really quickly. You ready? So here it is. This is a 1 mile radius of this particular agent's home. And that's Kathy. Really quickly. So one of the things we can do is we can actually take an actual circle. We can figure out a radius of your house. You don't have to leave a mile of your home. You had an acre of diamonds in your own backyard. You know if you went 2 miles, how successful that would be? Unbelievable. Now, if you sign up with us, one of the things that we will do for you is we will put this link on your website or create a community website for you, very inexpensively. And if you click on this right here, so now you can send your leads or your buyers right to your website, and they can look at what the property sold for in the neighborhood. We also have it on an iPhone or an iPad. So this link will go right to your iPhone or iPad. How many times you're driving with the buyer and you go, what'd that house sell for? Here, let me show you. Hand him the phone. Let him play with it. Okay? Really, really lots of fun. All right. I just want to, Jeff, how much time do we have?
Go ahead.
Oh, yeah. We're done.
No, go ahead.
Go ahead. All right. So really what I want to say to you is that this is my life. This is my passion. You guys, I've talked to you for 20 years, thousands and thousands of agents. Your success, your emotional gratification for doing this is you hand somebody those keys and they move into their new house with their children. That's your gratification. Mine is you call me and say, I just got a listing and I moved them into a new house. That's how I live. That's my passion. That's where I get my gratification. I tried your business once. Little story. I went back and I built this company for 10 years in Florida, and then somebody offered me too much money and I took it. And I sold it. And I opened up a brokerage firm called DCI International Realty because I knew I didn't want to be an agent, but I could be a broker and help you guys be successful. And I got to the point after 2 years, and I said, if one more person asks me for a washer and dryer at the close of escrow, somebody's not leaving the room alive, and it's not me. And they don't let me carry a gun anymore. No, it never happened. But anyway, I got out of the business, and I admire you for the patience and tolerance that you have for those people. Are there questions? There's clearly questions. Are there doubts?
David?
Yeah.
What I'd like you to address is we talked about something last night, and you said, one thing I won't do is push people into something that's not within their budget.
Right.
So have a little discussion with that, because there are a number of people that used to do direct mail advertising. And I think all of us are thinking of some of the comments that he had this morning, saying we stopped doing it because we saw the market slow down, okay? What I'm really looking for today is where are we going to be in the next 12 to 18, 16, 24 months so that we're there before our competition gets there. They're not advertising. They're not going out and being proactive. David talked to me last night and he said, you know what I'm really concerned with is have the agent tell me what kind of a budget they want to work with. And give us some of those thoughts, Dave, from that conversation where we said, pick a budget, work with that amount, and once you start reaping the harvest, what do you do?
Okay, so as a good business plan, if I could draw this out, and I will sit down and personally do this with you over the next 3 days or beyond, you can always call me. It's a good business plan. Let's say you have a listing in a particular neighborhood. It's a fairly good price point. You really want to work that neighborhood. It gives you a little bit of traction. Here's the criteria for successful direct mail. And some of you did direct mail and didn't work. My question to you is to have all this content, and here's the kicker. So I was in the advertising business. I didn't fall right into, my father was in the advertising business, and I went into the advertising business, and I was in San Francisco, and we're working with Levi Strauss introducing 501 jeans almost 25 years ago. And the whole conversation amongst a bunch of very high, $2.5 million budget to advertise a pair of jeans, okay? The whole conversation was about how do we get this in front of the consumer, that 35 to 55-year-old man, 8.4 times, because that's how long it's going to take for them to make a decision to buy those jeans on average. We have impulse, and then we have people that procrastinate, but on average, that's the rule. So I'm going to give you some cost here so you can figure this out as well. If you can't fit it into your budget for no less than 9 months, do not do it. Reduce the amount of homes. Make it manageable. We have a minimum. If it's an issue, talk to me. But do not look at it. And I don't want you to think, this is going to work. I know it's going to work. It's going to take, I'll do it for 3 months. I'll get a listing, I'll get a sale, and then I'll finance the next 9 months. Don't go there. Reduce the farm. Because the truth of the matter is, 3, 4 months, you're going to get phone calls. Month 5 or 6, you actually get the listing. How long does it take to sell? I think it's 181 days. That's a year out, all right? You will do well with this. You'll probably end up with more referral business before you actually end up with the actual buyer. Now, you take your community. Let's say it's a community of $250,000 to $350,000 houses, has 350 homes. Let's get you good in that community. And then what we want to do is take some of the money that you made. You have to set it aside. Look at it as a found budget. So let's say you spent $10,000 in a year farming this particular community, and it costs you $4,000. First thing you do is pay yourself back the $4,000. Okay, so now you're whole. Take another $4,000 and put it in a bank account called marketing. Take $2,000, take your spouse to Hawaii. Okay, because you're going to have more listings, you can do that. Now you got $4,000. What have you just done? You've insured your marketing campaign and budget for the next year. So you don't get this thing that goes up and down. Now, when you get the second sale, that $4,000, there's still going to be some there because they're going to start coming exponentially. Newman, by the way, in year one, did $750,000 in earned commissions. He spent X with us. He spent $10 with us. It was a lot more. All right. He spent $140,000 with us. He made $750,000. The second year, he spent $140,000. He made $1.5 million. Third year, $140,000, $2 million in earned commissions. So what's going to happen is going to build upon itself. It's exponential. How did Jones Siegel get to 78% market share? Time and consistency.
I met Greg when I was out in San Diego. I was going to bring him in here. He's a gentleman that, correct me if I'm wrong, I think he's like 64?
65.
He's been in the business for 30 plus years. He used to drive from one end of San Diego to the other for a listing appointment. And he said, Jeff, I really got tired of driving 45 minutes to the listing appointment, put the presentation on, come back 45 minutes again. He said, I want to make my life simpler. And he said, there was a lot of business sitting in geographic areas that I didn't have to drive as far. And that's what he did, is he applied some of the things that David has and bring it right back into it. I can think of Dale Marciniak when he started direct mail advertising. And remember what we're all talking about, getting back to the basics, okay? Getting back to the basics of how do we attract sellers to be able to get into the marketplace. It's to become experts. Now, those of us that are out there saying, I'm doing great right now, I'm working a lot with short sales, which I'm sure all of you just enjoy. I think if all of us could throw those away, we would. Or I'm working with REOs. Those too will start evaporating. What I'm trying to do right now is say, here, when the rest of the industry is sound asleep, what do? Do we take a little bit of our cash and start going out and going after geographic areas and controlling these areas so that you can control your destiny, and by the time the rest of the industry gets to that market, you've set the bar high enough that they either have to outspend you to catch you, and they have to have the quality that's there to be able to function with. Now, David and Brianna are going to be sitting here. As you can see, I've met Dave, talked to him, pretty low pressure guy. He doesn't want to bankrupt any of us. He wants to give us an opportunity. They're going to spend 3 days here. You have the ability to be able to sign up out at the tables. There's hour sessions, either meeting with Brianna or Dave. What they're going to do is go in, and you may have a preconceived notion that either Jeff Lean is doing a lot of business there, or Cindy Fleming, or Pat Bitterberg, or whatever. They're going to go into these geographic areas, show you exactly how much unit count, exactly how much volume is coming out, exactly who is controlling the market, and what we have to do to be able to go out there and get that market, whether it's small pockets, whether it's large pockets. And then how do we keep up with our sphere of influence? A lot of you guys are mailing. I'm looking at Mike. Mike mails a lot, okay? All this is a little different twist. We understand there's going to be technology that's going to be there. But technology doesn't always help us get that sale or the listing side of the transaction. We have to build relationships. So, questions, comments. This is something that I would love to at least have you educate yourself on, because I think there might be an opportunity for some of you, not for all of you. But we want to let everybody know what we're going to do, because there will be certain people, when you get into areas and you want to move that average sale price up. I look at Carl Caceres. Carl said, I want to move my average sale price up. I want to start looking at where this market's going to go. Okay? So that's where we are. Steve, you work up there in Menominee Falls, Germantown area. You've been up there a long time. How do you regain that market that you may have slipped away from? Okay? Because we've all done the same thing. We've all pulled back just a little bit. Yeah. This thing's coming out. Yes, go ahead. Loud as you can. Somebody get a mic to him. Thanks, Mel.
Come on up, Jeff.
Denise and I were just talking about this the other day, as far as the fundamentals of the business and how you know you let the internet and those techniques kind of take over. And we were talking about just solds. We've got 2 listings and a buyer, so 3 transactions in 4 weeks. And Angie just left, our closer. She had a cute story in that. Anyways, they're all, one's Venus, one's Neptune, and one's Mars. And so she said, well, when are we getting the Saturn file? And I said, great time to get back into a just sold campaign. We could stagger them, or we could do them, you know, on one direct mail, which we have really gotten away from. And she said, well, you know, do we need to spend the money? And I said, it is the core basics since I got in this business that works. The just listed, just solds work. So yes,
Okay.
this is pretty cool.
You know, Dave also talked about too many of us worry about selling the home instead of selling the area and really knowing what the area is. Any other questions or comments? Mike, please. Jack, right here. Kim? Anybody else have questions or comments as we go along? Right there.
Okay, so I just want to make sure I'm understanding this right. Is this something that we can cater towards, okay, like I just did my database, which was a huge step for me, procrastinating it at the most. But you have different farm areas. There's one neighborhood that I list and sell primarily in. So is this something that you can cater towards your own group of business? Do you guys help us figure out who we should be mailing to, what kind of groups we should be mailing to?
Absolutely.
If I give you my budget and tell you kind of the areas I really want to go after,
So
you guys
you give
help
us your
design
budget.
us that?
Yeah, you give us your budget. We'll divide your budget by what the cost is. I'm going to go over in a second. And then that'll give us the number of homes.
Yeah.
And then what we're going to do is look within your area. We're going to find the most viable part of your area. And there's 2 things we take into consideration. Turnover, so that there's enough sales. And is there another agent in there trying to pursue your business?
Okay.
So those 2 things.
Okay.
If you decide that you're going to do half of it, one of the things I'm going to recommend that you do as you start getting closing is just add 50 names every other month. Add 100 names. Grow your farm. This is a business. If you don't invest in it, it's not going anywhere. So yeah.
Yeah,
grow
that's
your
great.
farm.
I was just
Yeah,
trying to wrap my head
absolutely.
around, is it my whole database, just certain aspects of it, or we
No,
just
all right.
kind of
So
design it?
I'll give you. Yeah, no, that's absolutely great. And to your the Neptune, Mars, and Venus, this is a great thing to put in there. You have the sales data, and down this side, just sold, just sold, just sold. I'm the area expert. I know what you're looking for, and I'm successful. I get this from you, as opposed to a postcard.
Here, I brought up something last night when we were out for
That's
dinner.
a postcard. Or I get that. Who am I going to call?
I
Who's going to market my house better?
I brought something up to Dave last night when we were out for dinner. I said, you know, we've got a sphere of influence. We've got our A-plus people that we want to stay in contact with. What have you got? What's your philosophy on that? He said, a minimum of 4 times a year.
Absolutely.
The thing is if you've got a real A-plus group, you might want to be on there every other month. Some of us might want to be on monthly. It all depends on what you want to pick. But the thing is if you're going into a select area, instead of driving the 4-county area to pick up listings all over the place, what you may want to do is become an area expert in an area where you know that there's enough turnover and you can get in there and penetrate it. It's at the price range that you want to be. Jay and I talked about it during business planning. He wants to bump his average sale price up. We talked about that with Bonnie. Bonnie took her average sale price, and Bonnie helped me, 135 to what? To 245 in how long? 2 years, okay? This will help. We're seeing it happen, okay? Work smarter instead of harder. Because if I can make you more profitable, that's my #1 goal. That's why we're bringing you some other thought patterns. Some of you are going to say, shit, too expensive. Yeah, well, business costs, okay? And technology isn't going to bring it all to us. Okay, you've got to get down and get personal with these people. And you've got to think about how you think. Are you on that internet looking for everything that you want? Are you on websites? Is that going to be the end all to the be all? Okay, some of us are leaving way too much business behind. Other comments, questions? Sharon.
I've been marketing the same area, like you say, not too for many, many years, over 20 years, and I am the expert for that area. In fact, I just sent the magnets for the festival.
Okay.
But however, my area is falling in price. The values are going down. And so now does that mean to pump up, I'll have to go and try to start all over again in a new area?
I don't recommend it. I think that you already have a foothold in there. Those prices will go down and they'll go up. It's just like any business. I got to tell you, my personal opinion is that it's over. The short sales, the REOs. If everything starts in California and then starts moving this way, we're at 1/3 the inventory. And our short sales and REOs are 1/10 of what they were 3 years ago. So your price will come back. If you want to go into a higher price point, here's what I suggest. We look at what you're doing. And if it's less expensive than what we're doing and it's working, I'll help you tweak it. No charge. Just help you tweak it. We want to make sure that you have good, solid income there. Then what I'm going to ask you to do is take a little bit of that money, set it aside, and then we're going to go after another community. Mm-hmm. The high end's a habit, by the way. And you need something to support that habit.
Right.
So stick with your bread and butter. Let's make you the best you can possibly be. I know you're the expert there. Do you have 50, 60% market share? If not, we can help you get there. Okay, so that's the thing. Cost, anybody want to know the cost of this, Jeff?
Hang on, one other thing.
Okay.
David also brought this up last night. He said, you know, there will be people that are doing marketing right now inside of your group. I think of Mike Mansky. Mike's doing farming, has done farming for years and years and years over in Waukesha. Direct mail. And Brookfield, okay? He said he may look at this and even say, you know, what you're doing, keep doing. But do you want to layer something else? Do you want to look at something else? Do you want to be able to bring it up? Do you want to be able to put it in automatic? Do you want to be able to bring the statistics that they're showing inside of this on a monthly basis to your buyers and sellers? So just another way. Cost.
Cost. All right. It's $379 to set up a particular community. It is completely custom. We'll look at your website. We'll look at your colors. We will create something for you. We'll actually even create a look for you. And not the $3,500 Hobbs and Herder charges. It's actually in the $379. It also gets you photographs of your particular community. We will hire a local photographer here, the best one we can find, and you'll actually get that. Very simple. It's either $1.79 a piece or $1.59 a piece. And what's that include? It includes us going into MLS and getting all of your information. It includes all the MLS data, the printing, the scoring, the folding, the mailing. It is totally turnkey. And the postage. Go get this copied at Kinko's. Already designed. It's $1.87. So for $1.79, if you do under 800 pieces, it's $1.59 if you do over 800 pieces. And like yourself, Mike, if you do 2 communities and they equal more than 800, you get the $1.59 price. When I told you earlier you can take it to another vendor, there's no way. There's absolutely no way in God's little creation that you're going to be able to create this piece and not have to worry about it and do no work for $1.59 or $1.79.
We have one other comment here, and we'll be wrapping up here shortly.
One of the observations I've got is we all know that REMAX agents in general, compared to the rest of the industry, are more successful. But one of the frustrating things, I was in management for half of my career in real estate, is that agents don't really have a business plan, and many agents, even our own company, do not really have a business plan. And one of the things you need to understand is repetition of a message to the same group of people. That's what sells Pepsi. That's what sells Coca-Cola. That's what sells the products you see on television. That's really what this is. It's repetition of a message done in a very professional way, much more professional than I'm doing it. And I'm going to continue doing what I'm doing, but I'm also going to add an area and take on this program, because to not do it is actually silly. especially since in the industry, they're pulling back. They're not doing so you don't really have the competition out there right now. You really don't.
I'm going to leave you with one parting thought. We participated in a study maybe 3 years ago, and we sent out at no cost, we sent out to an entire farm postcards every single month. And then we had a research firm call the homeowners, as many as they can get a hold of. And we asked them, who is the #1 agent in the community? And they said, Joe. And Joe was indeed the #1 agent. That's why we went to him. And he has that perception. We stopped mailing for 3 months, and then we went back and created a completely fictitious person and mailed it again. And then called the homeowners and asked them who was the #1 agent. They said the fictitious agent. It was repetition. To further your point, you're driving down the freeway, 70 miles an hour. There's a can of soda in the grass. Who makes the soda? Coca-Cola. Why do you know that? They haven't changed the logo in 120 years. How'd you like to be that art director?
Okay.
Consistency, repetition. We will help you. You have questions, answers. Sign up front, up top.
Yep. This is what's going to happen. He's in Brookfield. Both of them are in Brookfield this afternoon in the office. They'll be in 2 conference rooms. Tomorrow all day in Greenfield. So Hales Corners, you can pull up there if you want to. You can. What we're trying to do is not have them driving all over, because I didn't know whether we were going to have snow or not. I don't even know if he knows how to drive. So I wanted to make sure he didn't have to get too far from this hotel, or I had to bring him. But take the time to at least sit down and analyze this product. You may not go for it right now,
Yep.
but if you know it, then I think it's something that you should at least take a look at and say, does it fit? Okay, do I want to do it? I take a look at Dave and Kathy Burkle over there living on a lake. I know who their competition is. Okay, they would eat their competition alive on the lake by just going to a higher quality of advertising, because that's what we want to do, is set the bar. Dale, you know what direct marketing has done for your career and my career, and we keep hearing people saying, go back to the basics, go back to the basics, go back to the basics. These are the basics, folks. Tom.
Mike mentioned Coke, Pepsi and Coke, were just mentioned. Coca-Cola years ago, they're based in Atlanta, and they decided, well, we don't have to advertise in Atlanta. We're here. Everybody knows us. Within a year, they lost market share. So they started advertising in Atlanta again. So.
Okay. Okay. Jane and the girls are out there. There are time periods for you to be able to sign up. If you don't sign up now and you would like to sign up, just call Jane up. She'll make sure that you'll know what times and places are available. Thanks ever so much for your time today. Have a great week, great month. Keep fired up. Let's get some more listings and let it go.
Thank you very much.